Welcome to the lymphatic system. Now, to fully understand the lymphatic system, it works incredibly closely with the cardiovascular system, as it provides a channel through which any excess tissue fluid that cannot be picked up by the cardiovascular system is returned and removed via the lymphatic system. So we need to get an understanding of how they work closely together. To do this, we need to look at how what happens in the circulatory system at the tissue level. So your blood travels to and from the tissues, which delivers your nutrients and removes waste. So the blood never actually leaves the capillaries, but the leukocytes and the passengers such as your oxygen, food and the water can. It does this by going through the capillary walls in the derivative of blood called your plasma. This fluid then circulates through the tissues and it collects or delivers your food, oxygen and water and collects the carbon dioxide and any waste products. It then returns back to the capillaries, but because of the walls and the pressure inside the capillary walls are too high, it can't actually absorb all of the fluid that has been collected. So any fluid that is left is picked up by the lymphatic capillaries. Now your lymphatic capillaries have a larger pores and the walls is actually under less pressure. This means that they can collect a lot more excessive tissue fluid, and any substances that may have large molecules such as damaged cells and foreign matter can also be drained away through the lymphatic capillary walls. What happens then is the fluid known as lymph is filtered by the lymph nodes and collected by the lymphatic ducts before entering the right and left subclavian veins and returning to the bloodstream. So the lymphatic system consists of your lymphatic capillaries, your lymphatic vessels, your lymph nodes, lymphatic ducts. The fluid in your lymphatic capillaries and vessels is known as lymph. Now lymph is a very similar structure to your plasma. It contains waste material such as leukocytes and lymphocytes, but it does not contain erythrocytes. The function of lymph is that it transports excess waste that blood can't carry away from the tissues, and it adds extra leukocytes and lymphocytes to the blood. So lymph moves around the body, but it needs several factors to help it circulate. The contraction of skeletal muscles collapses the vessels, and because there are no valves present, lymph is directed towards the upper part of the body. A slight oncoming pressure from the tissue fluids helps the lymph move, and any movement of the lymph towards the thorax during inspiration will also help it move up towards the body. The lymphatic capillaries are vessels which work with blood to collect excess tissue fluid. Your lymph capillaries eventually unite to form your lymph vessels. The structure is the fine, blind-ended permeable tubes, which is composed of a single layer of endothelial cells. They occur in spaces between tissues, except in the central nervous system. So the function of the lymph capillaries is that it carries excess tissue fluid away from tissue space. Now let's look at lymph vessels. These are vessels which transport lymph around the lymphatic system. They are thin-walled and collapsible vessels similar to veins, but they carry lymph, not venous blood. They do have valves to keep the lymph moving in the direction of the heart, and it prevents the backflow, and they consist of a double layer of lining. These valves give the vessels a knotted or beaded appearance, and they have three layers. You have an outer layer of fibrous tissue, a middle layer of muscular and elastic tissue, and an inner layer of endothelial cells. The function of a lymph vessel is to collect lymph from the lymphatic capillaries and then convey lymph towards the heart. Many of the lymph vessels run in the subcutaneous tissue, which is beneath the dermis, and all of the lymphatic vessels pass through one or more lymph node. So what a lymph node is, it's a small to medium-sized lymph vessel which will open into a lymph node. These are placed throughout the body. An afferent vessel transports lymph to the node, and an efferent vessel transports the filtered lymph back to the system. So each lymph node is made up of lymphatic tissue which surrounds the wall of a tough white fibrous tissue and supported by an inward strand of fibrous tissue called trabeculae. Now your lymph nodes will vary in size. The role of a lymph node is to filter the lymph, remove and destroy any harmful microorganisms, tumour cells, damaged or dead tissue cells, any large protein molecules and toxic substances from the body. The lymph nodes actually help to filter, because this filtering system prevents any toxic materials from reaching the bloodstream and causing septicemia. If this occurs, it can cause the node to swell, and in severe cases it may cause cell destruction and actually cause an abscess on the lymph node. Lymph tissue now, well, let's look at that in more detail. So lymph nodes are made of lymphatic tissue. They contain many types of cell. You have your phagocytes, which are your white blood cells that engulf and destroy harmful waste and bacteria. Your lymphocytes, which are white blood cells that produce antibodies, and your cells dividing to form new nucleocytes. Let's look at our lymph ducts now. All lymph passes into two main lymphatic vessels. You have the right lymphatic duct. This is only 1.5 centimetres long, and it's positioned at the root of the neck and empties into the right subclavian vein, and it rejoins the circulatory system. It receives all of the drained lymph from the right side of the head, the chest and neck and the right arm. The thoracic duct is the largest lymphatic vessel. It's around 40 centimetres long and extends from the second lumbar vertebrae to the root of the neck and empties into the subclavian vein to rejoin the circulatory system. It collects and drains lymph from the left side of the head, the neck, both lower limbs, the left side of the trunk and the left arm. Now the spleen is also part of the lymphatic system. It's the organ which both produces and destroys cells. It is a non-essential organ and is sometimes removed due to damage after an accident, as other organs can perform the same function. So let's look at the function in more details. The function of a spleen is that it forms new lymphocytes. It destroys thrombocytes and erythrocytes, helps to remove foreign particles from the circulation, helps to fight infection, and it acts as a blood reservoir. So the structure of the spleen is that it lies on the upper left-hand side of the abdomen, and it has an outer capsule of fibrous tissue which extends into a network of fibrous strands. This network supports the splenic pump, which consists of several different types of cells. You will be needing to research the diseases and the disorders of the lymphatic system.